Hey everybody, so I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be about tips for doing craft shows or craft fairs. I do get a lot of DMs or questions about the things I'm going to cover in this video, and so hopefully these tips will be helpful for you or someone that you know. Some of these tips you might already be familiar with and might already be implementing them in your current craft shows that you're doing. Or if you're considering doing a craft show, these tips will definitely be helpful for any beginners. So I will be looking down at my notes, and then if you have any questions, please drop them below in the comment section, and I'll be definitely more than happy to answer those questions for you. And before I jump into the tips, I'm just going to ask that you subscribe, like this video, and also hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any videos when I first upload them. So now let's get right into the tips. So my first tip is going to be, what will you be selling? So before you even consider spending money or paying for your space in a craft fair or craft show, you want to know what items are you going to be selling. So whether it's something that preferably you want to do something that you're making, because usually these events are like artisan type of events, so handmade items. But if you're going to be reselling items, you really want to make sure you know the products that you're selling, make sure that you're bringing enough of the product to the show, and then you want to also start preparing in enough time. So just really focus and think about what items that you're going to be selling, because once you have that down, then everything else should fall into place for you. So the second tip is, you don't want to have too many items, and that's the question that I get asked a lot. Well, how much product should I bring? And it's going to vary. It varies depending on what you make. I normally break it down into the different items that I sell. I usually take tumblers, t-shirts, and face masks. And then I will break it down. If I'm doing face masks, I'll probably do 5 to 8 of each color. Tumblers, I usually have about, I would say, 10 to 15, well, about 15 sublimation tumblers. And then I also have rhinestone tumblers and snow globe tumblers. So it really depends on the items that you're making. Now, if they're customized items, you can bring items to show or items that people can purchase, but also you can take orders at the fair for those particular items. So it really depends on the items that you're selling as far as how much you should bring. You definitely want to bring enough. If you have a 6-hour craft fair, you want to have enough inventory that's going to last that full 6 hours. So just break it down by how long you'll be at that craft show. And then the location, the venue, you kind of want to take a guess as to what the traffic will be like. And you can always visit other craft shows at that same venue before you do yours, so you can get an idea of setup, how many items the other vendors have at their table. You can even ask other vendors as well if you're in vendor groups, and you'll get a bunch of different answers, but you could just take that and cater it to what you feel will work best for the items that you're selling. A suggestion is, you don't want to just sell too many different things. You kind of want to keep it to maybe a few things within your niche or the type of craft that you do. So you want to have it where the customer can walk up to your table and be able to touch the items, look at the items. You know, if it's something that they can test out the items. So you want to have things where they're easily accessible for your potential customers. But then you also want to make sure that they don't have to kind of dig through things or go dig under things to get to something that they might be interested in. So have your table things spaced out enough where your customers can get to the item that may catch their eye. The next option, or the next tip, is your display. So is it a type of craft fair where you have to bring your own table, your chairs, your tablecloth, your tent, things like that? Or will the vendor of the event be supplying the tables and the chairs and the cloth? Is it outdoors? Is it indoors? So those are things you all want to take into consideration when selecting a company or vendor of these events to go with. Do you want to do an outdoor show? Do you want it to be indoors? Do you prefer to bring your own displays as far as the table and your chairs and any other display setups you might need or want for your show? So, and you have to think about if it's indoors and they're offering the tables and everything, that's actually a really good deal. That's less things that you have to bring to that particular event. So that's definitely something that you want to think about. Now, if you're doing, say, an outdoor show or a show that calls for you to bring your own tables, well, you want to make sure you're within the requirements. Can you set up, do you have like say a 10-foot space? And then you could do a mock setup at home. Make sure that you can set up within 10 feet everything that you will be selling within that total space that you have. Can you make it shoppable for the customers? Is it going to be enough room? Do you have to make changes or eliminate something? Or do you have more space than you need? Do you need to add something? So your display options is something that you definitely want to consider when you have displays set up on your table. Do you need like extra mannequins on the side? Do you need any other type of displays that will help showcase your items? So you definitely want to think about the display options that the particular vendor is providing or that you will have to provide on your own. Another tip is the method of payment. Of course, cash is always best, but nowadays, a lot of people, they don't carry a lot of cash on them. Some people, knowing that they're going to be going to a craft show, they may come with cash just because they figure they're going to buy something. But you want to have other forms of payment options besides just cash. Offer the option to use debit or credit cards. So you can use Stripe, you could use, what's the other one? Square, PayPal. There's a few different ones out there that you can use. And that way you can take their card information, input it right on the spot, and email them a receipt if they ask for one. But that way, at least you won't miss out on a sale or two because you couldn't offer that customer the option to pay by debit or credit card. So that's something you definitely want to consider. Another thing to piggyback on that is to also have change. So normally I will have $100 in change in ones, fives, and tens. And that way, if the customer hands me, a 50 or 20 or whatever, I'm able to break that for them and give them the change back that they need. So that's something to consider as well. My next tip is to have some type of wagon or dolly or some means of getting your items to your space or your booth. So some events you're able, if it's an outdoor event, a lot of times you're able to pull up and unload right where your space is. Other events you have to park in the parking lot and then you have to carry your item maybe up a level or two by elevator. So this way, if you have a wagon or a dolly or something like that, then you can load all your items at once and make one trip. That way you won't have to go back and forth from the car to the elevator, to the car to the elevator, and so on. So definitely consider getting some type of way to move your item from your car to your space. I use a foldable wagon that I got from Amazon. I think it was about $60. And I use it for more things than just my craft show events. So definitely consider that. The next thing is you want to be attentive. You want to pay attention, get off your phones. With these craft shows, the crowd, it goes up and down. So it may be super busy for 30 to 45 minutes up to an hour, and then the next hour it may be slow. But if you see a few people walking around, and especially if they're walking in the direction of your booth or your table, put your phone down, put your tablet down, stand up. Even if the person is just walking past, still speak and say hello. let them know that you're there to help them and answer any questions, or even just a friendly hello sometimes will get people to come over and start chatting with you about the items that you're selling. So you definitely want to get off your phones and pay attention to your surroundings. Another thing is networking with your customers, networking with your neighbors or other vendors. And this way, if you know of someone that is looking for a certain item, you can refer another vendor and vice versa, as well as networking with your customers. Even if they're looking, hand them a business card, give them your information, have a QR code to scan so they can get to your website or your social media and follow you. And who knows, maybe down the line you'll get a sale from that. So just make sure that you're networking with other vendors, your neighbors, and definitely with customers. And to piggyback off of that one, you want to have with you maybe business cards or some type of flyers, a QR code, some way if the customer is, kind of interested in your products, or, they want, say, a custom tumbler. You have it in pink and they want it in purple. You could let them know, hey, I do make custom items. Here's my card, or scan this code. This will take you right to my social media. Or you may even be able to get an order on the spot and just have them pay a deposit. That way, they're going to come back for that item if they've already invested their money into it by making a deposit on a custom order. So just make sure you have some way for the customers to reach out to you if they're interested, but maybe they aren't going to buy right then. And every bag that or every purchase that a customer makes in the bag, I do put my business card in there. If they purchase that one item, who knows, they might know someone that likes that item. They can hand over your card to them, or they may want to order one of the items that they purchased from you as a gift for someone else because they really like it. So definitely have some way for the customer to go follow your business or go back to your business in case they're interested in another product. Also, the next tip is going to be unused product, or unsold product, should I say. So you can always save those for the next craft show that you do. If you have a website, you can add those items to your website as a ready to ship item, or you can use things like Facebook Marketplace or social media to go ahead and sell those additional items that you may have available. Personally, I take the items that were not sold, and then I will either add them to my website or just save them for my next event. And I just keep doing that over and over, seeing that I do the events often. Now, if this is you're just kind of testing it, and maybe you're just doing one event or a couple events a year, I would say find another means of selling those products if they're not sold on social media. Usually that's going to be the best option if you don't have a website or word of mouth. And then prepping for the show. So normally I start prepping 30 days before. So I'll spend 1 week making tumblers, the next week making t-shirts, the next week making masks, or in whatever particular order. And then that way, when it gets to that 4th week, the week of the show, I start packing. So usually a few days before that show, I'm putting everything in my tote bins, making sure that I have everything that I need besides my items. I have my bags, my tissue paper, my business cards, any other items that I feel I'm going to need. I start packing that a few days before. That way, if something comes up and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot maybe straws, I could go ahead and grab the straws and add those into those bins. The night before the show, I go ahead and do a double check on everything, and then I'll close up my bins and I'll stack everything right by the door. That way, everything that I know that I need is right there. All I need to do is grab it and load it into my vehicle, and I'm ready to go. So don't wait till the last minute, because you will forget something. And I mean, depends. If you're doing the show by yourself, yeah, if you're doing the show by yourself, you won't be able to leave to get something that you forgot. But if you're doing the show with a partner or someone that's helping you out, yeah, you have that option to, leave, run back home and grab an item. but that option may not always be available. And depending on where the show is located, how far of a drive is it going to be? Over 30 minutes? You know, is one way, is that going to be worth it? So definitely the week before, start getting all your items packaged or packed up, so that way you'll know you'll have everything you need that night before the show, and then you'll have a smooth show and you'll have all your items that you need there. And so those were all the tips that I had. Hopefully these tips will be helpful. And then if you have any questions about any of the tips that I just went over, just drop them below in the comments. I will definitely respond back to you. You can also email me at bedazzledandbling.com, and bedazzledandbling is my social media handle on all platforms. So again, thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.